There is something I need to tell you, and you might not realize it yet. But the fact that you are here, right now, reading this, means you were seconds away from giving up. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, internally, in a way no one else could see. That moment where you smile on the outside, but inside, you feel tired, confused, maybe even a little lost. And you start asking yourself questions you don't say out loud. Why is nothing changing? Why do I keep ending up in the same place? Is this really all life has for me? And here's the part that no one tells you. That moment right there, that silent breaking point, is not the end. It is the signal. The signal that something inside you is done repeating, done settling, done living a life that doesn't feel like yours. Because giving up is not always about quitting. Sometimes it is about shedding an old version of yourself. And if you are feeling that right now, then listen carefully, because this is where everything begins to shift. You are not stuck, you are not behind, and you are definitely not forgotten. You are standing at the edge of a version of your life that requires a different version of you. But the problem is, no one ever taught you how to become that version. So you tried everything you knew. You worked harder. You thought more. You tried to stay positive. You waited. You hoped. You pushed yourself. And still, nothing fully changed. Why? Because effort alone does not create transformation. Awareness does. And awareness always begins with a moment like this. A moment where something feels off. A moment where you can no longer ignore the truth. A moment where you realize, I can't keep living like this. And that realization is power, but only if you use it. Because most people, they feel this moment, and then they distract themselves. They scroll, they sleep, they ignore, and slowly, they go back to the same life, the same patterns, the same limitations. But you didn't scroll away, you stayed. And that means something. That means you are ready. Now let me show you something most people never understand. Your life right now is not random. It is not luck. It is not coincidence. It is a reflection of the identity you have been carrying, the beliefs you have been repeating, the thoughts you have accepted as truth. I always struggle. Things don't work out for me. I'm not like those people. These are not just thoughts, they are instructions, and life follows them perfectly. Not because it is against you, but because it is responding to you. Now here's where it gets interesting. The moment you change the instruction, life has to change the response. And that means you are not waiting for life to change. Life is waiting for you, for your decision, for your declaration, for your moment of truth where you say, no more, not softly, not doubtfully, but completely. Because transformation does not happen gradually at first. It happens in a decision, and then reality catches up. So let me ask you something. Right now, are you truly ready to change? Or are you just tired of your current situation? Because those are two very different things. Being tired makes you wish. Being ready makes you decide. And today, you don't wish anymore. You decide. Now listen carefully, because this is the moment most people miss. You don't break a pattern by fighting it. You break it by replacing it with something stronger, something clearer, something that your mind cannot ignore. A sentence, a truth, a declaration. So I'm going to give you one. And I don't want you to just read it. I want you to feel it. Say it slowly. I no longer wait for my life to change. I decide, and it begins now. Again. I no longer wait for my life to change. I decide, and it begins now. Do you feel that shift? That small but powerful movement inside you. That is not imagination. That is alignment beginning. And here's what's going to happen next. Your mind will try to argue. It will say, "But how? But what if nothing happens? But you've tried before." Let it speak, but don't agree with it. Because your past does not get to decide your future anymore. You do. And every time you repeat that sentence, you are reminding yourself of that power. Now, something important. Don't just say it once and forget it. This is not motivation. This is reprogramming. This is you teaching your mind a new truth. So here's what I want you to do. Say this sentence. When you wake up, before you touch your phone, in the middle of your day, when doubt appears, and right before you sleep. Not rushed, not distracted, but present. Because repetition creates belief, and belief creates reality. Now let me tell you something. If you stay with this, if you actually commit, you will start noticing changes, small at first, a different thought, a new idea, a moment of clarity, and then something bigger, an opportunity, a shift, a door opening. And in that moment, you will realize something powerful. Life was never against you. It was waiting for you to become the version of yourself that can receive what you've been asking for. And now, that version is waking up, right here, right now. And if something inside you is already starting to feel different, stay with this. Don't stop here, because there is more for you to understand, more for you to unlock, more for you to become. You don't find messages like this by accident, and if this one reached you, there are others waiting for you too. Messages that will take you deeper, help you grow faster, and keep you aligned on this new path. So don't let this be a one-time moment. Let it be the beginning of something real, something lasting. Now take a breath and say it one more time. I no longer wait for my life to change. I decide, and it begins now. This is your moment, not later, not someday, now. And everything begins from here. And if you are still here, if you didn't click away, if something inside you is quietly holding on to these words, then this is where it gets even deeper, because most people reach a moment like this. They feel something, a spark, a shift, and then they go back to the same thinking, back to the same habits, back to the same identity that created the life they were trying to escape. Not because they want to, but because it feels familiar. And the mind will always choose what is familiar, even if it hurts. But you are not going back this time, because now you are aware of something you weren't before. You are aware that your life is not controlled by what happens to you, but by what you continue to agree with. And agreement is powerful, because every time you agree with a thought, you give it permission to stay. So if a thought says, "This is too hard," and you believe it, you have just reinforced your limitation. But if that same thought appears, and you replace it with your new truth, "I no longer wait for my life to change. I decide, and it begins now," then something different happens. You interrupt the pattern, you break the flow, you shift direction, and it may feel small in the moment, but that is exactly how transformation begins. Quietly, internally, almost invisibly, until one day, it is undeniable. Now, let me take you a step further, because what you are doing right now is not just changing your thoughts. You are changing your identity, and identity is the root of everything. Think about it. If you see yourself as someone who struggles, you will always find struggle. If you see yourself as someone who is unlucky, you will always find proof of that. But the moment you decide, "I am someone who creates change," everything starts to reorganize, not instantly, but inevitably, because your identity becomes your filter, and your filter shapes your reality. So right now, you are not just repeating a sentence, you are choosing who you are, and that choice changes everything. Now here is something important that most people overlook. There will be moments very real moments where nothing seems to be happening, where you repeat your new truth, and your outer world looks exactly the same. No big changes, no sudden breakthroughs, just silence. And this is where most people quit. They assume it's not working. They assume nothing is changing. But what they don't see is what's happening beneath the surface, because before your life changes externally, it must change internally. Your thinking, your reactions, your energy, your awareness, all of it begins shifting first. And once that shift becomes stable, reality follows. So don't rush it. Don't doubt it. Just stay consistent, because consistency is what turns a moment into a transformation. Now I want to tell you something that might change how you see everything. You are not trying to get a new life. You are allowing yourself to become the version of you that already lives it. That means you don't chase it. You don't beg for it. You align with it. And alignment is simple. It is the repeated decision to think, speak, and act as the version of you who already has what you desire. So ask yourself, if you were already living the life you want, how would you think? How would you speak? How would you carry yourself? And then start there, not perfectly, not all at once, but intentionally, because every small shift builds momentum, and momentum creates change. Now something else will begin to happen. You will start noticing your old self, the way you used to react, the way you used to think, the way you used to doubt, and instead of being controlled by it, you will observe it. And that is powerful, because the moment you can observe something, you are no longer trapped inside it. You are separate from it, which means you can change it. And that is what you are doing now, step by step, thought by thought, decision by decision. You are becoming someone new. Now let me remind you of your sentence, not just as words, but as a declaration of identity. Say it again. I no longer wait for my life to change. I decide, and it begins now. Feel it, stand in it, because this is no longer about motivation. This is about transformation. Now there is something else I want you to understand, and it is subtle, but powerful. You don't need everyone to understand your change. You don't need approval. You don't need validation, because this journey is internal, and sometimes the people around you may not see it yet. They may still treat you the same, expect the same, speak to you the same way. But you are not the same anymore. And that is enough, because eventually, your reality will reflect your change. And when it does, everything will make sense. Now stay with me, because this part matters. There is a difference between trying and deciding. Trying says, I hope this works. Deciding says, this is happening. And the energy behind those two is completely different. So from this moment forward, you don't try anymore. You decide. You decide who you are. You decide what you accept. You decide what you repeat. And most importantly, you decide what you believe. Because belief is what turns words into reality. Now, if something inside you is starting to feel stronger, more certain, more clear, then don't stop here, because this is just one layer. There is more for you to understand, more for you to unlock, more for you to become. And the more you stay connected to this kind of awareness, the faster everything shifts. So keep going, keep listening, keep expanding, because every message you allow yourself to absorb adds to your transformation. And if this one reached you at the exact moment you needed it, then there are others waiting for you too, waiting to guide you deeper, waiting to strengthen this new version of you. So stay on this path, because it is leading you somewhere different, somewhere better, somewhere real. Now take a breath, slow down for a moment, and come back to yourself, this present moment, this awareness, this decision, because everything begins here, not in the past, not in the future, here, now. And as you continue from this moment forward, remember this. You are not the person who almost gave up anymore. You are the person who decided to change. And that decision will echo through everything in your life. So one last time, say it with certainty, with calm confidence, with quiet power. I no longer wait for my life to change. I decide, and it begins now. Hold that, carry that, live from that, and watch as your life begins to reflect it, because it will. Not all at once, but step by step, moment by moment, decision by decision, until one day you look back and realize that this exact moment was where everything changed. And if you ever feel yourself slipping, if you ever feel doubt returning, come back to this. Come back to your words. Come back to your decision, because that is your power, and it always will be. Now go forward, not as the person who was waiting, but as the person who has already decided, and everything from here will follow. And so it is.